I don't think there's any question he's being blackballed. Do I think there's been an edict from the league office? No. Do I think the 32 owners got together and decided collectively that this would be their approach? No. But it's obvious that there are at least 64, and in some cases, teams might carry 3 quarterbacks. And when you talk about training camp, there's more than 100 quarterbacks in training camp as teams practice and play exhibition games. The idea that Colin Kaepernick, well, he's not Tom Brady, he's not Aaron Rodgers, he's not Russell Wilson or Cam Newton at this point in his career, but the idea that Colin Kaepernick can't play for some team and that he isn't among the 50 or 60 best quarterbacks who could play in the NFL is ridiculous.
Are you saying that they're more concerned, the NFL owners, about putting fannies in seats than they are winning?
Well, they're more concerned, I would think, with the PR blowback, the fan reaction. Now, there is some cover for some of these owners, and in some cases it's legitimate, in that Colin Kaepernick came to prominence, I don't want to get too inside football here, but running the so-called pistol offense or zone read offense that depends upon the versatility of a quarterback, the ability to run or throw. And there's some thought that NFL defenses have quickly adjusted to that, and Kaepernick's team went 2-14 a year ago, which may obscure the fact that while he wasn't great, he wasn't terrible individually. He threw for 16 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, had a decent quarterback rating. So some teams may say, look, we don't run a system that aligns with the abilities of Colin Kaepernick. That's legitimate. But again, 32 teams, backups, come on.
Hey, Bob, is this a coach or owner call? And you know I'm a political animal. Talk to me about the politics that run through the offices of each in the NFL.
I think this is primarily an owner call. Now, as I said, without being repetitive, there may be some teams that very legitimately say Colin Kaepernick has a lot of ability, doesn't fit in our system. But that doesn't account for all 32 teams. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk and NBC Sports, who's connected to the league and knows everything that's going on. I spoke with him a couple of days ago. And he said that the usual sort of gathering of intel that you'd find about almost anybody who could play in the NFL, a 6th-round draft choice, a potential free agent linebacker, teams are always looking for intel. They're making inquiries to former coaches, to personnel directors. There's almost no buzz around the league about Colin Kaepernick, which indicates to me that coaches and front office people are under the impression that it's useless to pursue it because the owners won't sign him.
If we were having this conversation in the context of the NBA, would it have the same outcome?
I don't think it would, although it's interesting that the NBA had in place a long-standing rule, whereas the NFL had none, about national anthem policy. You recall about 20 years ago, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who played with a number of teams in the NFL, refused to, in the NBA rather, refused to stand for the national anthem. They reached a compromise where he would stand in kind of a prayerful position. He held his hands up like this. The other alternative was to remain in the locker room. The NFL did not anticipate this. They have no policy, and all they have said is that while we encourage players to stand respectfully for the national anthem, they are free to do whatever they choose to do.
Has he earned, Kaepernick, has he earned standing among the likes of Ali, Tommy Smith, and John Carlos?
I don't think so, but before answering that, let me say this. Others who followed his lead, for example, Brandon Marshall, the linebacker with the Broncos, or Malcolm Jenkins, the safety with your Philadelphia Eagles, virtually no repercussions. It's Kaepernick who owns this. He was on the cover of Time magazine. It's Kaepernick that this whole controversy seems to center around. He was not the only one. And when you consider the fact that domestic abusers, people guilty of various forms of misbehavior, find a place on NFL rosters. Pac-Man Jones was just suspended again for a single game for some run-in with the police several months ago. This guy's got a rap sheet a mile long and collects millions of dollars from the Cincinnati Bengals, who at various times seem to have been running a halfway house for miscreants. You got to believe that Colin Kaepernick, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with him politically, deserves a chance to ply his trade.
I think you make a convincing argument. Can I just say that I thought Michael Vick got criticized this week for things he said, and by the way, he withdrew some of that thought process.
Yeah, he did. He walked it back.
Bob, I thought he was giving him agent-like advice. He was not telling him what's right. He was simply saying, hey, you know, if you want to get back in, this is the way you got to play it.
Yeah, I think it was well intended, but Michael has since walked it back. There are a variety of hairstyles in sports worn by people of all different backgrounds, so I think that's probably a minor issue when it comes to Colin Kaepernick.